Yep, there he is. We've been playing the Ric Flair woo sounder at the beginning of these Reusse Unchained for several years now. And lo and behold, we're all in the office a couple days ago. And across the hallway in the KS95 studio, we hear, woo! The actual Ric Flair was in the, and you can find the podcast. We sat down with Rick a couple days ago. And Pat, you had a chance. Couple of legends in the hallway together. Pat Reusse and Ric Flair.
I had run into him a couple of times, maybe in my long career, and talked to him once or twice about other wrestlers. But yeah, it was good to see. Nice Rolex he had on there, as somebody pointed out. He's done okay. He's got the Rolex, and
he makes it. He spends it for about 45 years.
Yeah, he appears to have bounced back from some really frightening health scares, right? About 4 years ago.
Well, that's what I've got. He gave me one of his energy drinks right here. This is, I'm not being paid to do this, by the way. This is his. I think drinking enough of these brought him back to life the last couple of years.
78 for a sports writer isn't that shocking, but 72 for a pro wrestler is, because those fellas are kind of like football players, old NFL football players. We lose a lot of them in their 60s, and it's nice to see Rick still getting around.
Yep.
And out promoting the AEW, is it? AEW?
All Elite Wrestling, yeah. Yeah,
and they're still trying to establish themselves. Obviously, you said that they were at Target Center last night and might have had 5,000-6,000, something like that.
What's interesting is they actually so they have a deal with Turner. So WWE and WWE's TV rights are kind of changing, but WWE's been like USA and then Fox, the mothership for SmackDown, and AEW has a deal with Turner the last 4 years, TBS and TNT. And they actually do like almost 1 million. I mean, they do big numbers on TV relative to other TV shows. And they even packed Wembley Stadium with like 75 or 80,000 people a few months ago. But on these, it's almost like they're more popular around the world than they are when they come to Minneapolis. The WWE packs the arena almost full. And AEW, maybe like 4,000 or 5,000 fans, I think, at Target Center last night. So, yeah.
Well, obviously for me, the modern wrestling never was the hook. I never really watched it regularly. Once in a while, I'd see something. But you go back to the AWA, I can talk that with you, breaking, pounded beer cans on your forehead around the campfire or drinking beer and that stuff. It was,
and that's so Declan and I did the interview with Rick, and by the way, he couldn't have been more nice and gracious, and he did, hey, you want me to do anything on camera? Like he was great, and it was a good experience. And but like the first 3 or 4 minutes of the interview, we were kind of, we're promoting AEW. Here we go. So Rick, man, it's your next chapter. What are you looking to do? You just signed with AEW. What's the next chapter for Rick? And he goes, whatever they want me to do. I don't know. He's like, okay. And then Declan's like, is there anyone that you want to, feud with? Is there anyone that you want to do? He's like, no, not really. But then when we say, Rick, okay, let's change gears here. Do you know what today is? Today is the 38th anniversary of Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes after the Hard Times promo, NWA, he lit up like a Christmas tree. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to talk about the 80s, so here we go.
Now, the NWA was out of Atlanta then? That was out of Atlanta?
It was a southern territory. Atlanta, Georgia, somewhere in that area.
It was Turner,
right? He got trained here, but then he left, right? He didn't stick around. Vern never really used him, right?
Yeah, and he told an interesting story so when he was champion down in AWA, he would always say, build from Charlotte, North Carolina, Ric Flair. Yeah. They really wanted him to say, you should say Minneapolis. No one knows really what Charlotte is. You should say Minneapolis because of the wrestling history and lineage. And he was like, nope, I'm going with Charlotte. I'm going to go with Charlotte. I love the town Charlotte.
Yeah, he didn't want to be the 10th guy in a line of Minneapolis.
All these guys that were trained from up here, we had enough wrestlers. But did he ever actually work for Vern then?
No. He was, as far as I know, he was NWA, not AWA.
He was starting up when Vern was running out of steam too, I think, right? So,
but he's friends with. I brought up, when that 30 for 30, the ESPN documentary came out a few years ago, and Judd and I were doing our radio show at the time, and we had, people are wondering, like, these stories about Flair, right? This has to be over exaggeration. There's no way this guy is out, and not sleeping. And I think both Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell called in separately to say, "Oh no, I can confirm." And Rick even said, "Yeah, I just talked to Greg on the phone when I landed, and I'm going to catch up with Jimmy." Like, he's still friends with those guys from 50 years ago.
So he's growing up out there in Edina, and Mom said, "Are you going to be a doctor like your dad?" And he said, "No, I'm going to be a pro wrestler." I wonder what she had to say about that.
Yeah.
I don't think he grew up in a household filled with people watching the wrestling and on Saturday nights and saying, thinking that the feud between the Crusher and Vern and then the friendship was really really all that authentic. I don't think that's his background there. So it is amazing what a showman he became.
Yeah.
With his dad was a doc, right? Wasn't dad a doctor? I thought he was.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, he told, he wasn't exactly the greatest family man, for a few decades there. He's on Marriage 5, I want to say, but he told a story across the hallway to some of our colleagues at KS95. They were talking about kind of his personal life, and he just said, "Yeah, I mean, I was a terrible father for my first couple of kids. He goes, my first wife and I got divorced. We didn't even fight. I just came home after 6 months, and it was, yep. We probably shouldn't be together. Okay.
Well, the wrestlers of the generation that he started, who would get in a car with 3 other guys and go on a 3-week road trip, and then go to the bar afterwards, they might have had some options. They might have had some young ladies offering themselves up, and when you've been away from home for 3 weeks, you've wrestled every night, you're not making a lot of money, and you're in there drinking beer, you might have a tendency to stray. I don't know. That'd be my guess.
I think you're probably right.
Just a little bit.
Yes, that's right. So it was good to see how excited you were, Phil, to hang out with Ric Flair, because he's obviously more your generation than he is mine. So
he's kind of between our generations, because your generation was more 60s and 70s, mine was more 90s. Rick was 80s.
80s, yeah.
And the first show I ever went to as a kid was in 1992 at Target Center, and Rick had just signed with WWF for the first time. And so the main event going around the country and at the pay-per-views was Ric Flair versus the Macho Man Randy Savage. And the hook for Flair being the bad guy was he was trying to steal Miss Elizabeth from Macho Man Randy Savage. So he was going around, like he would grab her and put a big kiss on her, and the crowd would boo. And
How did he and McMahon end up? Were they? Does he not a McMahon fan, or did they end up?
I think so. Vince brought him in twice. Twice as a wrestler. He's brought him back a bunch of times as like a just a figurehead. But he brought him over in the early 90s, and they were supposed to do. It was supposed to be like a Hogan. Hogan was the head of the WWF, and Ric Flair was the head of the NWA, signing with WWF, and they were supposed to do a WrestleMania match. But I think it might have been like there was some issue. Either Hogan didn't want to do the match, or Hogan was in the steroid news cycle, and then Rick wound up only being there for like a year and a half, and then he went back to WCW. When Rick came back the second time in the early 2000s, he was kind of a shell of himself, and his confidence was gone, and it was a weird deal. Vince brought him back in, and Triple H put him in a stable called Evolution. So Rick was the old wily veteran. Triple H was the current guy, and then they had Bob Orton's son Randy as a 24-year-old Randy Orton, and then Dave Batista, and it became one of the big factions in wrestling history. And Rick was like the godfather of the faction.
I wonder who from the AWA, I would guess, invented the stable. Bobby the Weasel, more than anybody, might have invented this.
Ric Flair had the Four Horsemen back in the day with Arn Anderson and,
Yeah, but I think up here, probably Bobby Heenan was before that, wouldn't it be, man? Because he had
his little stable of, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Heenan. That's how
the Heenan family. The Heenan family, yeah.
The Heenan family, but that's how they got him involved inside the ring by he became a wrestler. Once in a while they'd wrestle him then too, because he had the stable, so he'd do something very much against the rules to help out one of his guys when he was walking around the side of the ring, and that's how we got the Heenan family going. So. Or
the good guys would demand that if this happens, then Bobby has to wrestle, and then he'd be, running around the ring away from the opponent.
It's, the hokiness of it is amazing. So.
Yep.
So the Viking bye week. What are we doing on Purple Daily with the bye week going on? Regular speculation on who the quarterback will be next Sunday.
Of course, it never rests. That's the great thing. This league can present a news cycle out of nothing. That's what makes it so great. There's always something.
Yes. Now, Dean Evison came out yesterday and talked to the reporters. He contacted them more than they contacted him, that he wanted to talk. And Dean went out classy like we knew he would. Although when I talked to Boudreaux, he said, "Don't worry, he's bitter just like the rest of us. He just won't say it." So,
yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, Bruce was upset. So when Bruce got blown out, he was really pissed off because Dean had been, in his mind, brought in to stab him in the back. So
Evison,
they're not exactly friends.
But he'd been brought in to stab him in the back by Fenton, who then got fired.
And how about how Dean sung like a canary? It was like he was in an interrogation.
He was awesome.
Russo asked about Kaprizov. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's still hurt." I'm not going to give you a lot, but yeah, he's still hurt.
I don't want to share secrets, but he's definitely still hurt and can't skate very fast. But I don't want to share any secrets.
He basically just gave up state secrets. It's outstanding.
Awesome.
Well, if he comes out and says, "I got robbed and this is a terrible thing," he won't be a coach in a month when somebody needs a guy, a new coach. But he'll be on the job next fall, I would think. Pretty good.
He might be on the job in 2 months, Pat.
Yes.
He's a made man now. He's guaranteed 3 additional head coaching jobs in the NHL based on
yes.
Yes. Yeah, I was, as I said in the column I wrote, the guy they got now, he's really fresh and, he's only been fired twice. It's very rare you get to hire a guy who's only been fired twice as your new coach.
This league, amazing. Man, it's all about who are your drinking friends. And if your drinking buddies are GMs, you're in good shape. You're going to get a job.
Yeah, that is. And I think Bill's got a few of them. I don't know, but I would think Bill would discuss the goings-ons with his team over a beer or two. Some places, it's a like old-time hockey guy, but he's committed to his. He committed to giving out those contracts, 3-year contracts, to guys that the rest of us wonder why he was doing that. So he was outspoken in his belief, and the first night worked well. That's for sure. They were skating like madmen. Even Jake Middleton was moving around, for God's sakes. What happened to him? Did anybody check his bloodstream? He was moving.
It's amazing, man. Whenever a hockey coach gets fired, the next week and a half is guaranteed 4-game winning streak.
Well, this guy, he came into Nashville, his first job, right? Was Nashville his first job or second?
Devils were his first job. Predators were second.
But he was brought into Nashville in a situation like this, and then they went off and they won a bunch of games, and then the COVID came. I think the shutdown came. But he seemed like a guy who's going to be, for the reporters, going to be easy to work with. This Hines guy.
They don't like the fact that, unlike Dean, he takes his skates off after practice and makes them wait.
Oh,
They're
really?
already not happy about that. He might want to just leave his damn skates on.
Just leave the skates on, man.
Yeah. That's an extra 10 minutes then that you gotta wait around.
And the problem for the reporters is the players clear out then. It gives the players time to escape.
So he's doing a favor for he's trying to get. He's a players coach. He's a players coach.
Doing a solid for his players.
So he's not. So he's giving them a chance to duck the media for all those all important post skate quotes. That I've been there for a couple of those. You try to get a guy for 10 minutes, you got no chance.
No shot.
You get the 2-minute thing. If you clear your throat, they're gone. If you pause for a moment, they're gone. So that's. But Yeah, he's obviously he knew it was coming, as he said he did. So I mean, you could feel it. As Boudreaux told me, no NHL coach has ever been fired and was surprised. You always sense that the GM's looking around the room for a scapegoat, and it's always going to turn out to be you. So
yeah. Hey Pat, amazing. on the other winter team here, just for fun, I'm over at ESPN.com's season projections here. Now that we're like 25% of the way through the season, so the Boston Celtics currently have the number one odds to win the championship at 19%. The Bucks, the Sixers, those are the three best teams in the Eastern Conference. The fourth best odds are the Nuggets at 10%, followed by the fifth best odds to win the championship, the Minnesota Timberwolves right now.
And hopefully Anthony Edwards' hip, he doesn't sound like he'll play tonight. They're only listing him as doubtful, but must not be broken or anything. But if Anthony Edwards becomes this year's cat and misses half the season, I'd say those odds would go down.
No, I think he should definitely just miss a game here. In fact, they've got some, and then they've got this like the fill-in games that because they don't play in the tournament anymore. So they've got Memphis and San Antonio coming up too. You could rest him for a little bit if you needed to.
I hadn't looked at the standings lately. I happened to run across the Lakers-Pistons game. Pistons, 15 straight they've lost in Detroit. 15 straight.
Cade Cunningham was the number one pick the year after Anthony Edwards. And everyone, he was supposed to be a can't-miss prospect. He scores 20 points a game, but he's awful. No defense. He needs about 45 shots to score the 20 points.
And after you've lost 10, 11, 12 in a row, and you're not very good, you kind of lose your attitude. And, like I watched a little bit of the Lakers game just to hear the Lakers announcers trying to explain the 50-point loss in Philadelphia the night before or two nights before. And meanwhile, you look at the screen and they're up 5 and then they're up 10 and then they're up 15. It's just walking away into the evening. So it's nice to know the NBA, even though it's a little more balanced, still has the really rotten teams. Washington, Detroit. They got Memphis. Memphis is playing terrible. When's the Jaws suspension? 25. So
it's
he
25.
Won't be back
He's
yet.
got about 10 more games. 8 games.
What do you think the odds are of him staying out of trouble? I don't like the odds. I think he's
got to be done with the guns on Instagram Live thing, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but I don't think there's a lot going on there between the ears. So I would think that he would make it through NFL bye week. Let me put it that way. If he had a bye week in the NFL, I don't think Judd make it through bye week without getting his name on the police blotter.
Is Jaw's dad still at games when Jaw's not playing? That's my question. Jaw's dad loves. He's like Cat's dad. Loves being at the arena.
Dad loves being on the road to watch their sons play basketball. But Jaw's dad particularly. I think the gay to do that is, when Jaw's dad show up, put him in like the 12th row instead of down on the court. I think he'd be better off, don't you? And then you'd probably stop coming if he couldn't.
If you put him in the 12th row, then Cat's dad could throw T-shirts to him during the timeouts.
Right.
Which he always is involved in. It's incredible.
Yes. Well, anyway, yeah. I'm going to go tonight and see how the boys, I haven't seen them in person for a while. So
I'll see you there, Pat. We got the Jazz tonight. We got the lowly Jazz tonight. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Jazz looked like they were on the way up. And now last year at this time, remember they had the best record in the West or something that started off. I don't know what's going on this year, but they have gone backward.
Yeah.
How would you like to be Monty Williams, though, the Detroit? He gets fired. He gets fired by the Suns, and the Pistons give him $80 million, and now he's ripping his team the other night. Monty, you stink. There's no sense in ripping them. They stink. So.
Yeah, I saw it, and the Grizzlies are the same. So the Grizzlies, and you mentioned Jaws out, but poor Marcus Smart's been playing on this incredible Boston team for years, and he gets stuck in that trade, and he's been hurt, and so I think the Wolves were up at one point by whatever it was, 18 or 20 points in that game the other night. And there's a timeout, and Marcus Smart is just carving these guys on the bench. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And they come out with like an 8-0 run, and then the Wolves squashed them out. But yeah, you can only, whether you're a coach or Marcus Smart, you can only berate a bad team so much. Doesn't change a whole lot.
And meanwhile, I think if you want to go to the barn tonight, you can probably get a ticket.
New Orleans is pretty good, I think, Pat. I'm pretty scared of them.
Is it if the pit's at the Pelicans, maybe?
Yeah, but Zion's not playing.
Yeah,
I believe UNO is the Buccaneers, if I'm not mistaken. The University of New Orleans. I think they're the Buccaneers.
Okay, well,
I could be wrong.
Good luck to the Gophers.
Speaking of New Orleans, one of the great turnaround stories at the lower level of college football, Tulane. They're rated again.
Mm-hmm.
They were terrible for 40 years. Last year, they went to one of the group of 6 bowl games, right? And now they're back up there again. And that coach stayed. I can't believe that coach stayed at Tulane last year. The way they're throwing money around and changing jobs and stuff like that. But I got a hunch he won't be staying after this year, but Tulane of all places.
It is amazing. You see some of these teams like Liberty is ranked, Tulane is ranked, and is it James Madison? Is that the other team that's been ranked?
Yeah, and they're only 2 years out of the FCS. They moved up 2 years ago. They played North Dakota State's championship run, which has ended now because South Dakota State is better than them the last 2 years, but the only team to beat him was James Madison in the playoffs in about an 8 or 9 year period. North Dakota State.
Yeah. Oh, hey, we have to go here, but I should have brought this up 10 minutes ago. You saw the Sports Illustrated stuff about how they're using fake AI writers. They got caught using fake AI writers. I don't know. Go read about that for the audience if you haven't. It's incredible. Then this morning, Sports Illustrated announced their Sports Person of the Year. Can you guess who the Sports Person of the Year is?
I had an idea, but no, I can't.
He's a coach. He's a coach. Coach Prime. Deion Sanders is the Sports Illustrated.
They ended up 4-8 and all their prime recruits are decommitting. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4. And for 2025, he has 0 commits. It's a train wreck. What's wrong with them?
This is not the SI. This is only an entity using the name. This is not SI anymore.
Deion Sanders blew a 30-point lead to Stanford. Sports Person of the Year.
When they tell the EI what they want, are they going to have a style that they want them to write? Be smartass or what? What are they going to do?
You could do that. That'd be fun. We should do this with Reusse bylines. Write like a smartass, bury the lead about 20 paragraphs.
I wonder if they can do that. I suppose they can. Yeah. Oh, it's going to happen.
What do you type in, smartass?
We're 5 years from, we don't have to send an AI guy on the road to cover a team. Do you know that, boys? He doesn't have to stay in a hotel. He can sit in his little room down here in the corner.
As long as Purple Daily is protected. Phil and Judd and Declan here. It is Purple Daily.
Yeah.
Reckless.
AI can't do hot takes.
Kirk Cousins is garbage.
AI is already at replicating voices too, right? You could.
Yes.
Hey, AI, give us a Southern accent or something.
We're like replicating famous dead musical artists' voices on new songs now through AI. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the impact that's going to have on political elections is unbelievable. The phony information they're going to be able to put out there, making it sound like it's somebody. Like poor Trump, I don't think that's really him. Nobody could be saying as many idiotic things as he does. It's got to be AI, right? It can't be a human being who was once president saying all this.
I was hacked by ChatGPT.
Yes, right.
It's the New Orleans Privateers, by the way.
Privateers.
I looked it up.
Okay. The Buccaneers, the Privateers.
Very close.
That's a great nickname, though, isn't it? Because It's in honor of all those pirates that used to rob ships as they were going to the New Orleans port, the privateers. They stole goods and then went and sold them. So that's paying tribute to a fine group of human beings right there.
Yeah, it is. Definitely is.
So wish you hadn't told me about that AI. Now I'm going to worry here for the next.
Well, sorry. I didn't mean to give you anxiety there. Maybe go grab a Woo energy drink to calm down.
Okay, I can use one of those. See you later.
All right. See you, Pat.
Bye.
Okay. By the way, if you spill any of this Woo energy on your carpets, or maybe you're just looking to clean up your home before having family and friends over for holiday gatherings, Zero Res is here to help clean your house from top to bottom. Zero Res has a 4.9 rating on Google with over 17,000 reviews. If you call Zero Res today, you can get the Phil Mackey or Score North special. 3 rooms, Zero Resified, starting at just $129 and $75 off when you get your air ducts cleaned so you can breathe easier. That's 952-0RES or ZeroResMinnesota.com. Just say you want the Phil Mackey or Score North special. Spell it forward or backwards. It spells the same at Zero Res.